With the help of the Almighty, we came out, a contingent of people of this community, Jewish people of this community here of Jersey City, and a few of us here. One rabbi who I brought along, I always like to introduce him as 8th generation Palestinian. We have, yes, that's a fact. We've been living together. There's 8 generations of Palestinians. His grandfather moved away because he didn't want to be under the occupation and moved here to the U.S. And I'm a descendant from people from Europe, Jewish people from Europe, where my father actually escaped when the Nazis came into Hungary. His parents were killed in Auschwitz. The majority of our relatives actually are survivors from Hitler. And with the help of the Almighty, we remain true to our religion, Judaism. And because we are true to our religion, Judaism, we stand in fast opposition, in total opposition to this new creation, this new ersatz Judaism, this new type of Judaism called Zionism that created a state of Israel, who simply are masquerading in the facade of my religion of Judaism, because Judaism is totally not occupation. It's forbidden, according to our Jewish religion, to steal, to kill, to, in fact, ironically, I don't know if anybody studies our history, our religion is 3,000 years. It's to be subservient to God. And I pray to the Almighty that I should be able to convey His message, His truth, that we can sanctify His name and bring peace to the world. We, as a Jewish people, strictly adhere to this subservience to God, to this covenant that we made with God. And one of the issues were that we were to go build a temple in the Holy Land, and then if we were not on that high level required, we would be driven from the land, as it says in Isaiah, Ezekiel, Jeremiah, all the prophecies. Anybody who studies it, it's open books for anybody to read. And you will find that it was clear. The temple of King Solomon was destroyed. The Jews went into exile, were dispersed amongst the nations 2,000 years ago. And since then, we are under oath by the Almighty not to return as a sovereignty, not to create any sort of Jewish sovereignty, any type of nationalism. And for 2,000 years, although we went through the Crusades, Inquisition, so many trials and tribulations, we never attempted to reestablish a Jewish sovereignty till the advent of Zionism, which is a mere 100-odd years. This whole concept of Zionism is 100-odd years. And these people came along, and in the face of the Jewish authorities, who all stood up and said, "Who are you guys? What are you doing?" They went and they ignored them, they ridiculed them, and they said they're going to make a national home. Mind you, they didn't look like people who are representing a Jewish religion. I carry always around a book with a few basic pictures. A basic picture of Jews, how we live together in peace and harmony in every Muslim land. This is our history of generations. And then I take a picture here of David Ben-Gurion, the first prime minister, reading the Declaration of Independence in Independence Hall in 1948 when they created the state. And anybody who can see that picture, you can go to our site, you'll see there's at the dais, there's a bunch of people sitting there. Not one of them is covering his head as a Jew is required to show that we have a God above us. So this is not Judaism. This was a movement of heretics, people who detested the religion, who went away from the Jewish religion and decided they wanted a national home. They decided it would be practical to go to Palestine to make their national home. And because then they could wave the Bible and say to the people, hey, God gave us this land. And they knew what they're doing. You have the evangelistic Christians. They were just now, if you took last week, as you know, there was this big rally in support of the Zionists in Washington, D.C., where John Hagee spoke, and he brings along with him millions of people, more than there are Jews on the world, bringing along that they should support them and say, yeah, well, what about the Palestinian people? What about all these people that were living there for hundreds of years? These beautiful, godly creation people are living there. Well, they don't seem to have a problem with that. They have a goal that, according to their religion, that the Jews should be there, maybe Armageddon. Jews and Muslims should kill each other out or turn to Christianity, whatever their belief is. And it's very even controversial, by the way, amongst the Zionists, when they take the support of the Christians, that it's quite questionable, because what are they looking out to do when they have the Jews up there, according to the Christian belief? But I'm not going to get into that, because we want to judge everybody that they mean well. And even our politicians, everybody means well. They want the Jews suffered by Holocaust. Yes, we were murdered, we were killed. And they think they're doing a favor for Jews by standing in solidarity, blind solidarity with Israel. But let them know that it happens to be that not only is it good for the Jews, I mean, how could it be good if you're slaughtering so many of the Palestinian people? How could that be good? It's not humanly possible. It's not godly possible. But even in the concept of Semitism, the state of Israel, with its occupation, with its foot on the neck of the people of Palestine, you are building buckets and buckets of anti-Semitism. You're exacerbating anti-Semitism that around the world every Jew is fearful, and every politician here in the United Nations is busy running around to keep an eye that there shouldn't be a growth of anti-Semitism. So step back and think, what's causing this anti-Semitism? Because you're occupying a people. Why do you have to have that? If we lived for hundreds of years, Jews and Muslims and Christians lived together in the Holy Land. It was a beautiful fabric. It was a coexistence of people with distinctly different religions, and there was never an issue. It wasn't an impediment to peace, the difference of religion. What changed? For hundreds of years, there was no League of Nations. There was not the United Nations. Why was it peaceful then? What changed now? People became more educated? What changed here? One thing changed. Any logical person, anybody with common sense, with the simple common sense that he was created by God with, will tell you, yes, there's a change. There is an introduction of a movement called Zionism, an occupation that's not 75 years of the state, but over 100 years. Since they moved in, there is hate, there is mistrust, there is bloodshed, there is thousands and tens of thousands of people dying, mostly from the Palestinian people, the Muslims, the Christians, the Palestinian people. But not only that, Jewish people are dying. So you have October 7th, where all of a sudden they were shocked that 1,200 people died. Now, we say, of course, it hurts, all the death of people, that hurts. Why? But why did that come about? So you're going to now accuse the Zionists, they're busy accusing Hamas. This is a story of October 7th. And what was 50 years ago, and 60 years ago, and 70 years ago? How come the world is having their intelligence insulted by going in lockstep with the narratives that the Zionists, the tune that they sing every day? How could you let yourself be insulted by accepting what they're saying, when everybody just has to look back and see our history? Right before Zionism, we were living in the same courtyards, babysitting each other's children. Every old Arab, every old Jew will tell you their anecdotes of how they helped each other, how they lived together. It's a fact of history. Don't go through the blocks of the old city. You will see that. Go to the streets in Iraq, and go to Iran, go to Yemen, go to Tunisia, go to Egypt, go to Lebanon. It's a fact. There were synagogues there. There were synagogues just till recently, and there were no guards, there were no nothing. They would just live together as a different religion. What changed? One thing, a movement that is a transformation from subservience to God to nationalism, and they put on the Jewish star, they used the Jewish menorah, and they took the name Israel, so that if anybody dares say anything against them, they would dare to say, you are an anti-Semite. There's nothing more repugnant and repulsive. The state of Israel is the personification of anti-Semitism. They are anti-Semitism. They are causing blood, rivers of blood, and almost oceans of blood today that we are seeing. Over 5,000 children murdered. People are lying in the streets suffering in excruciating pain. We come out here a little uncomfortable because of the rain, a little uncomfortable because it's cold. Imagine, or it's even hard to imagine because you can't sleep anymore at night when you think of the suffering that people are going through in Gaza and that they cannot wake out of because their family members are dead. This is acceptable. This is something that is ungodly. People say inhumane. It's ungodly. How dare they use God's name and a religion of Judaism to perpetrate this oppression of a people. We will not stand. We are Jews, and because we are Jews, we are here, and we go all the places. We go in Jerusalem, in Al-Quds, and in London, and in wherever there is in Montreal, wherever we can, we try to stand up and speak out. In fact, in 1947, the chief rabbi of Palestine, again, the Zionists made a state. They used the Star of David. They used the name Israel, and they made a rabbinate, the chief rabbi who traipses around the world to condone, to justify what they're doing in the name of God. Or sometimes they take Netanyahu, the devil himself, to stand out there and use God's name. A lot of times when he goes to the UN, or he goes to, but the true Jewish community, it's called Eida Charedis, God-fearing community. These hundreds of thousands of Jews that live in Jerusalem and other parts of occupied Palestine go out and demonstrate and get brutally beaten by the police. Not only by the police, no, the army over there. And none of us carry guns that they could accuse us of being terrorists. What is their excuse? Old men, children, brutally beaten, assassinated, arrested. This is ongoing. And in fact, right from day one, the chief rabbi of Palestine stood up and pleaded with the United Nations. It's in the United Nations documents. His name was Rabbi Dushinsky. In 1947, he said, and I'm quoting him, here's the picture of it, where he stood in front of the United Nations delegation, and he said, "We furthermore wish to express our definite opposition to a Jewish state in any part of Palestine." This was before the United Nations ratified it. And from that day till today, we all, our communities, stand up and say, this is not Judaism. This is a Zionist state. We call it of the Satan. There's no other explanation how the United Nations ratified that a minority community, even if it would be that the minority community, which was the Jewish community, was a minority community, even if they would have agreed to it, how is it possible? A United Nations that was created for one purpose, that there shouldn't be more world war, there should be peaceful approach to everything. How did they ratify to declare that the Holy Land should be under a minority? That is bringing, or will have to bring, that there will be contention, there will be hate, there will be unrest. How do they create a state, United Nations, that defies logics? We say it's the works of the Satan. There could be no other excuse. And that same Satan is still alive and well. That is why you have today the world's being silent when you see people slowly but surely, day by day, minute by minute, over 40 days, we're standing and watching. Every day you get a report of people being murdered, being maimed, orphaned. There's no words for that, suffering, and they insist, no more food, no more water, no more medicine. How could the world be silent to this? This is Satan, and we dare not be silent. We have to stand up, and you will be accused of being anti-Semitic, yes, but just over the water you have the Williamsburg, Brooklyn, the largest concentration of religious Jews here in the U.S. There's not one Israeli flag. Go through that large community. Go to Mea Shearim in Jerusalem, you'll see Palestinian flags painted on the walls. Go to Montreal, go to London, England, wherever, Stamford Hills, wherever the very religious community, they say our name has been stolen, it's not Judaism. And so therefore, take courage, stand up. You're not only not anti-Semitic, but when we will stop this occupation, that will stop the exacerbation of anti-Semitism. We will be able to live together in peace as we've had for so many hundreds of years. So let us pray to the Almighty. He was almighty, just like he has ended the apartheid. He ended all these other, the inhumane, what we say again, ungodly, occupations and oppressions, that he should bring about this speedily and peacefully. At the same time, we dare not be silent. We must stand up. We cannot be silent when we see such suffering, when we see such injustice, something so ungodly, and especially when it's being done in the name of a God, of the name of religion. Let us stand up. Don't be silent till we will, inshallah, with God's help, be successful, and we will see, hopefully soon, maybe today still, first an end to the terrible slaughter of the people of Gaza, but ultimately that the world should wake up and spit out that narrative of the Zionists and say, don't sell us your bag of goods. It's not Judaism. You have a selfish, flawed political movement. Remove it from the equation, and Jews and Muslim Christians will be able to live together in the holy city. We'll be able to serve God in harmony and peace. Too soon. Assalamu alaikum.
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!